Never mind. It was Short Round holding his hat too. He's like,
Yep.
I was gonna say Olay, but I guess that's probably the wrong. Oh my God. Oh, I love it. Short Round on a Velociraptor. It doesn't make sense, and yet it makes sense at the same time. I don't even know what to say about that. Hello there. Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I'm here. I'm having fun.
As always, you one of the most positive people I think I've ever met, and at least when I talk to you anyway, or when I see you on a stream, really, anytime I see you on live anyway or whatever, I swear you seem like one of the most positive people. And I love that about you, because it just seems like you're always ready. You always have a smile on your face, and it's awesome. You don't meet a lot of people like yourself, to be honest with you, even in just regular just conversation, like a few minutes before we're going on. Even if you've had a tough day, it's you still have this thing about you that's positive, and I love that. It's just something
I appreciate that. I deal with a lot of dark stuff all day long, and
yeah, sure.
Try to make the best of it.
Right. And I do understand that, just in a different way with what I do.
Yeah.
Talking to people for a living all day long, you find out a lot of information about people you probably didn't want to know.
Yep.
But you get to know, and then when you see those people again and again and again, you find out even more information. But at the same time, I enjoy that a lot, and so so welcome everybody here. You're probably wondering why I gathered you all here tonight. It's another big show. Tuesday night. It is the what I would call kind of the dry season, so to speak, before the fall really kicks in and we get some new shows. We get, maybe some there's always one or two movies each month that are considered the bigger movies of the month. But a lot of times movies get dumped into August, September. And so the Hollywood is kind of divided into two groups. It's like the summer blockbuster and then like the holiday season, kind of, in a way, right?
Well, the August through November kind of time frame is you've got feel good holiday movies or horror movies, and that's about all that generally comes out in that time frame, because horror movies are low budget. They don't need to make big profits, and so they dump them in the time frame when most people aren't going to go to the movies.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously as you get close to Halloween, you're going to get your plenty of them. As a matter of fact, I remember when I was in high school seeing the original Candyman movie on Halloween with my girlfriend, one of my good friends and his girlfriend, and and of course having to get permission to stay out later. I had to call my mother from a payphone at the movie theater, because most of you guys are gonna remember a payphone in here, because the power went out in the middle of Candyman, which in itself is just, it's like was the person running the film, playing a joke. You have no idea, but I'll never forget going to see that movie, and it's a funky movie, man, and then the theater going dark. And so there was about a 15 or 20 minute break in there. And so I had to go call my mom and be like, Mom, hey, look, the power went out in the movie theater. It's like, right, on Halloween night, I'm going to be late getting home. But anyway, nonetheless, yeah, you're right. A lot of horror movies tend to come out too in this season. And it kind of is the season for that. Right. So I don't know that we have any horror films on the slate, as I'm kind of running down my
I think Nosferatu's coming out, isn't it?
It is. I am curious. The VHS box of that original movie and or may have been a remake.
That was the remake.
Right.
That was the 1970s remake. You're not going to find that original one anymore, I don't think.
Right. So I just remember like going to my dad's every other weekend, and I remember going to the VHS store and looking all over, find what we were going to rent, and my dad always
I
took,
still have my VHS of that
dude,
Nosferatu. It even had cool packaging, the big clamshell box, plastic box it was in.
and my dad always liked gangster movies or gangster documentaries, which at that time documentaries were not what they are today,
Yeah.
which I've got actually one documentary to talk about. You're going to talk about one, and then I have a trailer for something that is kind
Nice.
of like that. But anyway, but I just remember my dad loving like all the gangster stuff, and I would pick out the weird kind of B-rated movie shit that I
Nice.
had not seen. Right?
Have you ever heard of a book called The Five Families?
I
It's
don't
really pretty
know
good.
that
There's
I
also
have.
another documentary that's based off of that Five Families book,
Okay.
but basically it is about all what the major mob influences in the United States in the early 20th century.
I love that time period, and as a kid, I really loved reading about like the Chicago scene, right? The Al Capone and all that.
Yep.
I did. I love that, and part of that maybe comes from my dad. Now I have not carried that on into adulthood, so to speak. But I did always really enjoy reading about those gangsters and about
Yeah.
prohibition and how all
Yep.
this stuff kind of came about,
Something I
and
didn't know about Vegas and the movie Casino. What the movie Casino was really about. They didn't go into it much in the movie per se that I noticed, but so the big major conflict between the groups there was the Jewish mob versus the Italian mob moving into gambling, and so Warren Beatty's the Jewish mob kind of won out on that one and kept the Italians out of there for a while, or not as influential, kept them to Atlantic City or whatever, as
right.
they kept Vegas. But I didn't realize that until later that was what that major conflict was about.
And you're right. I guess in the movie, it doesn't really get a, a lot of play, I guess, right? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of, damn, I love that movie. I forgot all about that. That's
I've been wanting to watch it again, but I can't find it anywhere.
and that's hard, even with streaming today, where you're like, oh, you can find anything, right? And then you go to look, and it's like, there's a lot of stuff that's not playing on anything, right? And then you've got to try to track it down, or you're gonna have to rent it, right? Like you're gonna have to rent it either way. All right. Well,
So Ronnie, I just wanted to say real quick with our hats, and then Short Round's got his hat on the Velociraptor there.
yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, he's holding up. I mean, it's not an Olay. It's a
It's a yeehaw.
I don't know what it is. Yeah. So we'll say hello to who stopped by so far. War Chest, definitely. War Chest full of toys. First one here. First one to get here, last one to leave. Daredevil Dave's here too. All the cool people are here now. Yeah, well, that's right. We started this thing out. We'll add a few more.
Mr. Wonderful just showed up because he's not streaming tonight.
Hell yeah. And not hell yeah, as in he's not streaming tonight. It just so happens that's not happening, but I'm glad that he is here. Ronnie Trickshot stopping by. You two blokes in hats, like you just said. I I love it. I had somebody tell me, who was it? I think it was War Chest last week, that was like, you're not big enough to wear that hat or something. It was like 1-2 comment thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'll give the story behind this hat in a moment, and why I continue to wear it on the streams, just for the hell of it. Legend Series, what's going on, buddy? Always good to see you, and a true entertainer. And I know everyone here has definitely participated or been in his stream. He's so much fun.
We've got to get some Macho Man and some Estelle quotes from you. I think we need to get a couple of those to put on sound bites. Actually, I know Punk wants some too.
Yes, that's a great idea. Now, I don't want to step on Punk's toes here, right? So if he gets a couple that he can use, I don't want to just, jump on that as well. But that is a great idea, because he's so good at it. And it would be, man, it'd be awesome. Even just to have the little clip with him with the bandana on, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
No,
then
that
his
was
Estelle is just wonderful. I mean, she's always so happy to see everybody, and
oh
she's
my
just all
god.
there for everybody.
Yeah, no, again, it's some of the most fun I've had watching streams for sure. Is his stuff, and it's got a great flow. He gets his wife involved. I
That's
know,
awesome.
and
I'm
fault me.
still trying to get her to buy those Universal Monsters from Jada Toys on Big Bad Toy Store because they're
Okay.
still on sales and she can still pick them up there. I'm
Oh
just letting you
shit,
know she can
man.
still do that.
Yes, and I remember that. Yeah. I and I know he has a friend that's there as well. Now I don't, as because I'm in and out and maybe working or not working and whatever. So he also has another friend that's there during the stream that's kind of hanging out, joking around, cutting up. And so, but all of them together, yeah, man, it's just fun. You can tell they're having a blast. And I love to see that. 3-star draw is in the house. I would be remiss if I did not say hello to Chef Eric Thurman, the one, the only magnificent
So now he's got
Eric
to tell
Thurman.
everybody that he was a chef for the stars, that he
That's
cooked for
right.
all kinds of famous people.
Yes.
And now he's got to be Chef Eric Thurman. All right, man. Cool.
That's right. No, but I love it. I love it because I
It's awesome.
love to, hear stories like that, or I love to, find out about stuff. And of course, look, we all have had interactions, or maybe we all haven't, or whatever. I know I have had a few being in the business I'm in with stars, so to speak, country music stars, actors, you name it. I've had many interactions with them.
I treated a very big country music star legend.
and a lot of people in your business, Matthew, treat athletes.
Oh yeah,
a lot of athletes and a lot of big
treated
time
some NFL
athletes.
players, some Olympians.
Yeah. And so yeah, no, I've had a lot of those interactions. So yeah, anytime Eric wants to dish the dirt, baby, spill the tea, I'm all about it, man.
I've got a great story about Harrison Ford and some of his contractors too. Those are good stuff.
Really? You know what? All right, I'll tell you what. We're gonna plan one of these episodes, one of these shows. We're gonna dedicate to spilling some of our stories about the weirder things or stars that we've maybe come across in our job. How about that? We don't have to name names or maybe, the stars. Who cares? What are they going to do? It's, nothing terrible's happened. But when it comes to clients or people that whatever, it's like I don't have to name names. But I have a lot of stories, dude. A lot of them. And as a musician, too, I have a lot of stories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
No, I've got a lot. And by the way, Sheriff Eric Thurman is trying to get subs for his channel. So everybody go to Eric Thurman's channel. If it is, in fact, under Eric Thurman or Chef Eric Thurman, I'm pretty sure I've gone and subbed already. But anyway, yeah, go to his channel. Sub to his channel, sub to Legend Series, sub to 3-star Draw, sub to anybody that has a channel on here, man. Mr. Wonderful, like go sub to these channels. Ronnie Trickshot, Frostbite, Shark Eyes, like sub to these channels, man. Like these, everybody knows everybody. Everybody calls your friend. Right? Yeah, baby.
He just wanted feet dipped in chocolate, right?
Dip them toes in chocolate, girl. I mean, wait a minute. Hang on a second. This is the wrong kind of stream. This is the wrong kind of stream for that shit. All right. So anyway, so getting started. Hello, chat. Glad y'all are here. Glad that you can hang out on a Tuesday night for a little while with us. We always love it, and it makes it obviously a lot more fun. And also gives my ADHD something to keep up with. Trying to land planes and everything. It's what I think it's like. It's like landing planes, man.
One of my coworkers so we have little desk ornaments, and so I've got Usagi Yojimbo action figure on mine. Yeah. She's got a Bulbasaur on hers, but today she brought in a new one to sit by her desk. She brought in a little squirrel that she found at Hobby Lobby, because she always has to put up signs. It says, "Please don't distract me. I'm trying to do my notes," or so, because she's so easily distracted and she's all over the place.
Is it Sandy Cheeks? Is it a Sandy Cheeks squirrel? I'm not huge on the SpongeBob references, but I've got a few. I watch plenty of SpongeBob. So anyway, So look, again, as I was referencing, it slow time of year. So, what I've been doing, just to let you guys know, to prepare each week and look through. I'll scour the interwebs, the entertainment sites. I try to find interesting stories that definitely will fit this show. And then I have stories I save for Fridays. And so there's not a ton of stories. There is a little bit of some breaking news that Matthew got an email. This will pertain to a lot of you in the chat. You will be interested in this information. Maybe some of y'all got this email too, but I am at the very least going to start this off, and I'm going to let him take the reins from here for right now. So take it away, buddy.
So I don't know that this means they're calling it quits, right? So their website's going to be up. They still have other stuff to do, but their last Kickstarter was funded in 2021. Okay, so that's when the funding date ended for that one, and they've been in production nightmare for a long time with their Vietnam, and so they have had a whole bunch of issues with it time and time again. And what you'll see is that this latest message came in and said they're going to offer people full refunds. So this was the project, and it had a lot of cool stuff in it. It's all 1/18th scale. But yeah, their latest update. Oops. I'd have to log in to show you.
Okay. As long as you don't have any pertinent information on there, I don't want you showing anything that you don't need to show to.
Yeah, anybody. That's why I left it like this. But so the latest backer, they sent out in an email, basically saying that they're sorry, but they're not going to be able to fulfill it. So they've decided to refund everybody. And so Kickstarter, they've got Kickstarter insurance, which backs them up to $500,000, and the campaign went to $512,596. So that's going to cover most of it. So Kickstarter is going to be paying those back in the next little bit, but they had these guys, the CIA guys. They had a John Wayne figure from his Vietnam movie. They had a whole bunch of guys that would have been great for making custom GI Joes, and a lot of stuff that got unlocked throughout the campaign. But it's a good company. I've enjoyed their products in the past. They make some of the highest quality 1/18th scale firearms. They make good 1/12 scale stuff. Their 1/18th scale action figures have been good. They did a first wave, a second wave with females, a wave with dogs and mech suits. And so they've had good products out there. And everybody always asks me, whenever I do one of my pictures of Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow, my classified figures, I have Marauder swords in their hands. And everybody's like, where'd you get those swords? And they're Marauder swords. They're only $3 a piece or $4 a piece, depending on if it's the long sword or short sword. But like I said,
and 3-star,
they've done right by me at this point.
3-stars say, asking how long has that been underway, and you'd said 2021.
Yeah, 2021 is when it funded.
Wow, and that's a long.
Yeah. And so they kept giving us updates, and they offered partial refunds earlier to people who were like, okay, I understand. So August 14th, 2021 is when it funded.
Wow.
And so it's
so they're refunding all but $12,000. I mean, they'll refund probably. I mean, they're going to have to go in their own pockets, I assume, to refund.
I would assume that's going to come out of their own pockets.
Right.
I don't, because the Kickstarter insurance, I think, like I said, covers up to $500,000. So the rest of it will come out of their pocket, I'm sure. And I figured they just got to write this thing off.
And you just got that email, like
I just got it before we
went on, right?
Like probably, well, right now about 45 minutes ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bummer. Look, I don't know what from a cost perspective and what they were trying to do exactly, but I do know, and I watched a lot of videos. I watched oh gosh, it was Secret Galaxy, but it was probably 4 freaking years ago during COVID, where the whole toy industry got completely disrupted.
Yeah.
And then prices just started to skyrocket on a lot of things.
And so that's probably what happened, because if it went into production at the end of 2021, they're just getting into the paint shortages and material shortages, and they had problems with their factories with terms of manufacturing quality product because the product started breaking down.
Yeah.
And so they had to keep thinking about tooling and where they kept their tooling. And they, like I said, they had a lot of factory problems and distribution problems. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen. I know it's Chad's going to be disappointed. I know Bobby Val is going to revel in the despair for everyone who works at that company because he's not fans of theirs. But it's a sad day to see that it's not getting fulfilled.
So
but it's a good thing that they are able to provide the full refunds to people.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's obviously the next step, and with the insurance, so to speak, and I don't know what that kind of thing costs. I'm not, in the business when it comes to doing Kickstarters, crowdfunding, and all that. At least not yet. No, anyway. But so I'm sure the insurance is not cheap, right? I mean,
Right.
It's a big risk. I mean, that's a huge risk doing something like that. And so what do you think that means future prognosis, at least for them, as far as other toys? I mean, does that really affect them moving forward? And
it will.
In a lot of ways,
it will affect them. The good news is that they've been upfront with everything that's been going on. When they've had production problems, they've sent out emails. When they've had all these delays, they have not been radio silent on any of this. And now they're giving full refunds to the backers. And even early on, they offered partial refunds. They said, look, Kickstarter took their fees out. We can't give those, but we can give what we took from it back to you. And so they were always trying to do right by the community, by the fellowship, by the people that were invested in them. And so that's a positive on them. They didn't disappear like some people have in the past, like toy stores have in the past. I can't think of what the company was before it became Odd Frog, but there were some shady people in there. Once they parted ways from those guys, they seem to be doing okay because they're actually coming out with that Odd Frog car, and people are starting to pre-sell it, not taking money for it yet, but putting it up there. So some people have had it in hand and say it's good. And then they've got disputes with Ace over, Ace stole their designs and got his out first or whatever. But, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the third party community.
Well, and I would imagine when it comes to crowdfunding, whether it's a comic, whether it's toys, whatever it is, I think, people have the best intentions, right? Going in, very, very rarely is it someone who is really trying to do something nefarious, so to speak, because you're going to get caught with that. It's going to come out, right?
And I've seen it happen a couple times recently where somebody got involved and did a Kickstarter and was completely unprepared for doing a Kickstarter. And it took them a lot longer to get the product out because they were unaware of the Kickstarter fee that they took from that and had to come up with their own money to finish the product. And you have Carson Metaxas, and he's one of the most stand-up guys that there is. And he underestimated the cost of what he was doing. So he put his own money into it to make sure that everybody got what they had paid for, what they had asked for, what he had promised them. And then in the last minute, he said, look, I'm kind of tapped out. I've got it all done. It's ready to go. I just need you guys to pay shipping on this. So if you pay the shipping on the digital pack, I'll send them out as soon as I can. And no problem, Carson. I mean, you're the man. Upfront, honest,
Yeah, upfront, being upfront,
stand-up guy,
communication.
and he's just laying it out there. And
Right.
we know how much he's sacrificed to get that massive art tome out to everybody, and what a passion project it was. Because 15 years ago, I was on board with it when he started doing the single issues of that thing, because I wanted it out there, and I said, this is the only time it's ever going to be done. And lo and behold, he finally got his dream project made. I will support Carson in just about anything he does.
and really, it's about being upfront, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at the end of the day, look, communication, right? In any business, really, but especially when you're taking people's money for future promised goods, then it's about communication. And look, I'm sure anything can happen in every business, right? And there's so many different factors that are not in your control. You don't own the factory, you don't live in the country, you don't, I mean, there's just those are just a couple things, let alone whatever else can go down. But yeah, when and I know it's a little bit of a misleading headline, so to speak, because I'm sure, yes, this is going to affect them, but like 3 Star said, he's got the where is it at, if I can find it? He has the gun and for Mutt and Junkyard,
Oh yeah. With the dog bones. That's a good one.
The dog bones and stuff. Yeah.
What's
funny?
Here
it is right here. I've got the canine gun, the grub set from Mutt and Junkyard, right? And so they have good products. I mean, I think
what's really funny about that is that they said, hey, we've got these accessories. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll order a couple of those. And when I got them in, I said, I already had these. I bought these years ago. and what I remember doing was, I remember just buying the Mac 10, right, with the suppressor on it, and it came with a couple dog bones. And so I was like, what are these dog bones? And I just, threw them in my weapons bin or whatever, not even thinking about it. And then years later, it's like, oh yeah, we've got these Mutt and Junkyard packs.
Planning ahead, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they knew something nobody else knew at the time, right? Like, no, but that's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, obviously, yes, this is a big deal. That's a lot of money to have to turn around and refund. They also have to pay the deductible on the insurance, whatever that is, which is probably not cheap. And then they have to come out of pocket about $12,000-$13,000 almost. But again, that is good, and they're not skating on that, and because there have been plenty through the years of this form of getting direct to consumer products that people are still waiting, right? Statues, other figures, and there, no update, no communication. Then the company closes down and there's nothing, right? You've spent $500. You've spent whatever, and there's no update. And we've seen that with some of the creators you and I watch. I know Az and Gary from Nerdrotic, I think, have products that they've backed that are just in the, out there, and there's nothing going on. And so yeah, no, that had just come up. So I want for you to be able to share that for anybody that's interested. And of course, concerning a lot of the audience here, I think it is, definitely worth bringing up, for sure. I do have some information that I received from 3 Star Draw right before we went on. And since I'm not going to be doing our stream with him, my stream with him until next Wednesday, this will be probably old news by then. But I wanted to bring it up anyway. And evidently, the Dragonfly has been reported as hitting into the United States. And this comes from Jason's Miscellany, who has Jedi Jaybird, has been, I guess, on the forefront of a lot of this news many times. And it says 1,700 arrived. So this isn't just a few samples. This is the tweet right here. Recent shipping info shows quantities of the HasLab classified series Dragonfly arriving in the U.S. and this is 5 hours ago. So for a lot of folks, and I know 3 Star Draw in particular is mentioned many times. A lot of people have been concerned. I know a lot of people do not like to support a new HasLab until they have the current one in their hands.
Yeah.
The delay on this, I guess, has kind of hit a few months ago, and so this was not to be expected until really if I believe fall, fall
let's
holiday period, maybe. I don't know.
Let's walk it through the timeline now.
Okay.
Remember when the HISS tank was actually delivered and when it hit shores. Right, so it's got to go through customs. It's a large shipment, so they have to go through customs. Then it has to get to Hasbro. Once it gets to Hasbro, it has to go through quality assurance checking to make sure that everything is what they expect it to be, and then it can be distributed out. So you're still looking at that November, December timeframe that they were talking about. Whereas my loose collector Great Wolf has been delayed because Big Bad's like, hey, we're going to quality control these things. There's been some concern, so we're going to look into it and delay it, a month or so before we can get them out to you.
So the timeline does make sense of still being in that because yes, I mean, what was the final numbers? Do you remember the final numbers on the Dragonfly? I don't offhand.
No, off the top of my head,
no. If anybody
but it was 2,000 less than the HISS tank.
Yes, yeah. And so and real quick, want to say hey to there we go. Mike Ray. Wait a minute, not Frostbite. Where is he at? Yeah, my StreamYard sometimes just does. Mike Ray says I don't want mine broke during Christmas mail season. Well, still might be the case. Now the way they pack those things, man.
Yeah, they pack them pretty nice.
Fine. They do a fantastic job of packaging and sending these out. 3-Star Draw says 26K ish. I know, right? Double hello, Frostbite. Yes, a hello to you twice. Yeah, I thought
the Dragonfly was 24. The HISS was 26 because I was predicting 22 for the Rattler.
Okay. And so yeah, the timeline still fits. It's still going to take a while. And again, if this was only, was say 1,700 plus, and look, how people get their information, I don't know. Maybe, he has a friend that works for, the airlines. Maybe he has a friend that works
customs,
in customs, shipping business, logistics. I have someone I know in logistics that gets like 400 emails a day, that has to deal with stuff like this, like moving product. And so, but evidently this feller has been pretty accurate when it comes to reporting information. And 3-Star had told me basically, he had reported about like the Stinger and the Vamp and the HISS, I think, and a few other things, so nonetheless, so it's good news. At least product's coming, and either way, I'm not expecting this anytime soon.
No,
soon as in within a couple months, right?
Yeah, I know.
I'm looking at Thanksgiving-ish, maybe, a little after that, but, and that's fine with me, but for some people that's not okay. They're ready to go, and I get it, man. I get it. Let's see real quick. Oh, holy moly. There he is. It's Jay Gonzo. What's up, gentlemen? What is up to you, gentleman? War Chest says, Pop, I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. I've got this one employee, Mikey, who's schizophrenic, talks to himself in different voices. I keep him working with me, but he messes up every day. I couldn't help it because I read that a minute ago, and I'm like, I can always count on War Chest to give me something that is just completely out of left field. And he's probably, never mind. I'm not even going to go there. But yeah, 3-Star Draw says, this guy's always been reliable. By the time we get it, though, we forget all about this post having ever been made. And that's true.
Yep.
That is true. A lot of times the people that will break stuff like that in this day and age, a lot of stuff gets forgotten about.
Yep.
And so if this guy has definitely been on it, then I'll take his word for it. But again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really change the timeline.
Right.
But I did find this info from 3 Star Draw,
Yeah,
interesting
nice.
enough to bring up, and a good, something good at least put out there, and especially for a lot of folks here in the chat right now that are interested in the Dragonfly, as
Yep.
as I am too. I can't wait to get it. I just don't know what I'm gonna do with it. My goodness. Y'all will do a lot more with it than I will, I'm sure, at least in the first few months.
I've got those Robo Skulls coming at some point too.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's going to be a
So
big Christmas.
yeah, man. Yeah. Well, at least the dragonfly is paid for.
Mhm.
And so in that respect, for a lot of people, it's just one less worry they have on their plate anyway when
Yep.
it comes to Christmas time. And that will be like Christmas for some people when that FedEx driver drops it off at their door.
Whew.
Yeah, no kidding. Gonna plan on seeing a lot of reviews, huh? A lot of reviews when the Dragonfly hits, that's for sure, man. And a lot of those unboxing, putting it together. I will be watching those in ×2 speed, Matthew, though. Like you maniac. I'm going to be watching those YouTube videos in ×2.
I was watching a bunch of these trailers today on Tue Aug, some of them I hadn't caught just yet, and I'm like, oh man, it's going to be so boring to watch it on regular speed with pop on the.
Yeah, right. Well, the worst part is too is when you do them on YouTube, because some companies are just brutal when you have to stop it. You got to stop it every few seconds. You can't. So that's even worse for you. It's like watching in normal speed and then having to stop it every so often is just, ruthless.
What do you mean?
Well, just because, having to watch it in regular speed slows it down, then we're having to stop it every few seconds. So it makes it even slower for you rather than watching it on ×2. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, man, gonna be a lot of Dragonfly videos, Dragonfly spam. I love it. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
I'm sure he's going to be complaining about the fly spam.
Oh, I'm sure. Gosh,
I'm surprised he's not already complaining about stinger spam.
Man, I thought about this the other day. I'm actually shocked. I'm shocked that is not a topic of conversation. That has not come up.
I have not seen anything recently in any of the groups from that guy.
Okay.
I know he's still there. I don't think anybody booted him or anything, but
yeah.
I haven't seen anything from him in a bit.
No, it won't be long, my friend. Don't you worry. It will not be long. So one more story I wanted to bring up before we start to get into I say our topics. The one big one we're going to save for a little bit, obviously at the end, and we're going to go through some trailers and let you guys kind of check out some of these trailers for some movies coming up. And then there's a documentary I want to talk about, and there's a doc that you want to talk about. But before we get to those, there's one more thing I want to bring up, and this is the G.I. Joe game that is supposed to mainly, I guess, kind of have Snake Eyes in the starring role. Now, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I am a bit ninja'd out, personally. I am. And if there's a G.I. Joe game, I personally don't want it to be just a Snake Eyes game. I'd like to be able to play as multiple characters. And as you're showing here, Jinx. But I understand that for a developer, it's probably easier, and for a property like this, to maybe craft something that does have that influence in it, right? An action adventure. It's got the ninja aspect of it, and you can craft a story around that. Because if you make it this multi-character, I think it wouldn't appeal enough to people maybe and so you're trying to drill it down and find an audience.
Yeah, you have to figure out what is the most marketable audience that's going to intersect with GI Joe and video game players. And video game players love Ninja Gaiden. They love Ninja Turtles. They love Kengo. They love Bushido Blade. They love ninjas fighting all kinds of stuff. So you've got that in GI Joe. So take advantage of that. Let's go down that storyline. Snake Eyes, most recognizable one. Throw him out there.
Yep.
You know, personally, it'd be a Storm Shadow game for me, but that's because I'm more of a lore nerd than anybody. But
hey, man, I would love Storm Shadow to be the central figure. I would absolutely love that. But as we know, it's not going to happen. Period. Right. So it is what it is. You can wish all you want, but bottom line is that, you know, this article was on August 23rd, so it's 4 days ago on that Park Place, and just new details. And we've talked about it a little bit before. So the main person of the studio, which it's Atomic Arcade that's developing this game. Batman Arkham producer Ames Kirshen leads the studio. Now that gives me confidence. Right. Now I'm not putting all my eggs into one basket, but I will say that if anybody has played the Arkham games and you understand the way the combat flows in those games, if in fact they would like to use that type of third person combat style or something similar, I will take that all day long. I'll take that all day long. And if it's Snake Eyes, I'll take it even further. Like I would love it. But yeah, it says back in 2022 that he had joined Hasbro to develop a game focused on G.I. Joe. Now we did see.
I actually remember when that happened.
Yes. And recently also when I definitely talked about the fact that Hasbro had lost a lot of money and they're trying to focus on two things: board games, video games. Those are two main focal points that they're trying to break into or really support. So,
and yes, I do have the G.I. Joe Monopoly game. I do.
And I've definitely seen it. I haven't bought it, but I've definitely seen it. And so look, you know, I would love to believe this game is going to be fantastic. Is it a AAA game? I don't think so. I'd probably expect more of a AA game. It's not the highest graphical fidelity. It's probably not the longest game out there. It's not an RPG.
But there's still a lot we don't know about this one. The side scroller I'm interested in. I'm really interested in that one.
And you can download that demo on Steam right now. You can download that demo on Steam and you can play the side scrolling beat 'em up arcade style game right now, Wrath of Cobra. And you can get it on Steam. So if you have a PC and you know, you don't even have to have an amazing graphics card, you know, it's pretty easy on the PC. And you can download it and play it. And it is fun. It's fun. I don't know how the legs of it, as far as, you know, once you get through 4 or 5 levels, 6 levels, 7, you know, is it going to maintain that? You know, is it going to maintain that?
Well, for me, it will, because nostalgia. I played all the Mega Man games. I played the Russian Attack games, the Ninja Gaiden games.
Russian Attack, dude. Oh, I know you guys in the chat remember Russian Attack, right? Dude, Russian Attack, Strider.
I love Strider.
Dude,
I always wanted a Strider action figure, so I did my best to make my own versions of them.
Nah, those are fantastic. Yeah. So let's see here. Joined Hasbro game industry, had a great desire to tackle G.I. Joe and make a game with the IP. A lot of potential. It's Snake Eyes focused, much more edgy, contemporary, mature take on G.I. Joe to really suit what we felt needed to have this IP and game resonate with a modern consumer. Now that phrase scares me a little bit, modern consumer, but I take it from maybe a game audience.
Modern they didn't say modern audience. They said modern consumer. So
yes. So you know, but you and I both know that phrase very well.
Well, the modern audience is a lie. The modern consumer is an actual thing because consumerism changes over time and people desire different things from the marketplace. And so, if you're marketing to a crowd of people who will actually buy stuff, then that's great. If you're trying to market to a mythical unicorn, then nothing's going to happen.
And real quick, Bobby Wold is in the house. Says, I remember seeing Artist Art had a video on a G.I. Joe video game that looked great. And maybe this was it. I don't know. I hope so. But thanks for stopping by, Bobby, for sure. It says, and so here's the part. This is kind of the part that I kind of wanted to get to. And again, that Park Place, this website does have a bit of a slant to it. If you read their articles, you'll catch that. But it says, while Kirshen's comments about providing a contemporary take might give some readers pause, and it gives me pause. This is John Trent. Kirshen elaborated while discussing how he had to convince Hasbro executives to greenlight the game. He said it was a process of getting them comfortable with the direction we wanted to go with, that this is the type of content the market is looking for. The people that grew up with this IP and those who grew up with this IP back in the days of Real American Hero at its peak in the 80s and 90s are now fathers and uncles. And these are mass consumers of these AAA consoles and PC platforms. And they want content that grows with them. So, in a lot of ways, if I heard this from somebody making a game, I would have a lot of pause. But when someone brings up that these people are uncles now, they're fathers now, then yes, a lot of the gaming audience are 40-year-old, 50-year-old men that grew up with a controller in their hands practically since the mid 80s or Atari days. And so he says that it wants to tell an original Snake Eyes story with the game. Craft unique experiences, taking some of the best elements of the underlying IP from the source material and then creating a version specifically for the video game market and video game consumer.
Now, what does he consider source material?
Well, right. And that's exactly right. Right. So we really are just going to have to wait. And it takes a long time to develop video games, a really long time, up to, could be 5 years. In 2022, this started. I mean, that was probably pre-production, just getting stuff down on paper. It says, as opposed to taking someone else's version of the characters and trying to adapt that to the medium when it wasn't organically created for that medium from the get-go. So it's talking about, doing something for the video game audience as opposed to maybe the comic audience or the cartoon audience. And that's where you can get into some kind of, depending on what everybody wants, right? Depending on what everybody's looking for. And so yeah, he goes on to talk about Rocksteady and working on the Batman games and making a very unique Batman game. And that they did. They made some of the best video games in the history of video games, actually.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be an original story, but he still wants to respect the IP. And there's a lot here in this article. I'm not going to read through every sentence, but talking about pushing some of the boundaries of the IP, but as long as you're being respectful to it, the essence of the character, world building and stuff like that. So we'll see. I would love nothing more than a G.I. Joe game to be a success, to be something I love, and also something that someone else who's 40 years, 30 years younger than me could come along and be like, man, this is an awesome game.
Now, I don't know if it was a rights thing or what, but they used a lot of IDW's, Chuck Dixon's, Cobra Civil War, Snake Eyes storyline, which wasn't the best. I mean, it was okay, but it just wasn't the best.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean that's going to conflict, right? Some people really love that. Some people are okay with those things being, side by side. Some people are not okay. It just depends on kind of what they want to go with it. The main thing was there was a job listing basically, and the job listing was someone with a open world, and closed level mechanics like Batman Arkham City, Says the candidate will bring passion for both open world and linear level design. 46 games, 46 years games development experience. So that's interesting. And here's the job posting. It lists, everything the pertinent information. So, who knows? Could be a mix of an open world, could be a very linear game, so we'll see. I would enjoy something that's more along the lines of maybe a 12 to 15 hour really great experience that has good animation, cutscenes, and stuff like that. Kind of like Arkham Asylum, something like that. Shark Eyes, he snuck in here, and hello there.
And 99% of the chat. So there's somebody in here he doesn't like.
I will remain silent. Same time toys. We need a Joe co-op game. Well, that's going to be your side scroller, Wrath of Cobra, that's coming out eventually. It had a release date on it, somewhat, but that has since been kind of somewhat rescinded, and now it's just kind of out there and it's just kind of open. So eventually they'll get that done. And
Renegade Studios is coming out with more stuff. The deck building game is awesome. The board game is pretty cool. And then the role-playing game is great source material, artwork. They're using classified stuff in there and older school stuff. Their Renegades Game Studios is doing some really cool stuff with the G.I. Joe gaming systems in terms of that non-digital format.
Yeah, look, I'm a gamer. I love video games. I play the shit out of video games. I mean, if I'm not on YouTube, chances are that's what I'm doing in my free time, or I'm practicing drums. It's one of those three things, and that's basically all I do. And so I would be absolutely stoked. Definitely. And there was a comment here. I'll see if I can. Mike Ray said, didn't Rocksteady make a Suicide Squad? They did. It was a complete and utter failure, an absolute disaster of a game, a horrible game. And but that is from the people that are at Rocksteady now. The people that were at Rocksteady that made the Arkham games have left the company. They left the company a few years ago, and the two people who founded Rocksteady actually left the company during the development of the Suicide Squad game because they realized what an absolute mess it was going to be, and so they left to create their own studio. Now this fella here has also left and started his own studio. So the main people that worked on the Arkham series are all gone from Rocksteady now. And so we'll see if all of them individually can come up with their own great games. What is this from Same Time Toys?
I have not played it. I just know that it's got good source material, artwork. It's got good stuff backing it, and inside of it, the Sergeant Slaughter book is cool. I have only played the deck building game and the board game, and the board game's okay. It's fun. It seems to be a little repetitive, but the deck building game is awesome. It's so thematic. It works really well, in my opinion. But I haven't played the role playing game.
I have not either. I've been curious though, and I've seen the sets and I've seen like the add-ons.
Chris Yell Crow's trying to do something with it. So
okay. Well that'd be interesting. I want to scroll back just a little bit through the chat here, just for because we kind of went through that segment, make sure I didn't really miss anything too crazy. Yeah, nothing too crazy. I just definitely like to highlight people. War Chest says his Batman games are no joke. Yeah, no, those are some of the best ever. And
I mean, the first two were amazing.
Yeah, and the third one is a little bloated. I agree. And the Batmobile definitely becomes front and center, and it's way overused. But Legend series, if it's Arkham style, I'm all in. Bobby Wold, Operation Blackout. So I tried to convince 3-Star Draw that game was not very good, but he did buy it anyway, and he got to realize that on his own. But yes, the classifieds are based off of that, that first wave, basically, right? The Gung Ho and the Duke, the Scarlet, Cobra Commander.
So did anybody play G.I. Joe Battlegrounds back in the day when that was out.
I did.
So I played the heck out of that game. I played the heck out of that game so much that I was going to JoeCon that year, and I was like, hey, I got to pay for this thing. So I sold my account to somebody to pay for my trip to JoeCon. And that was interesting. But the artwork in that game was awesome, and all the different upgrades versions of it.
Yes.
And then there was another one that was a tactical battle simulator type of thing where you built bases and you fought the enemy. You could play Cobra or Joe or switch back and forth between them. And that one went for a while, and that was a lot of fun too. But it was just a click, time consumer thing. But they've been trying to do stuff with G.I. Joe gaming for a while.
Yeah. As a fan, obviously, I would love, right? I would love to see a good game made, right? I mean, if you're a fan of something, you'd love to see it. Whether if you're a Transformers fan, you'd love a great Transformers game, right? If you're a G.I. Joe fan, it's underserved, right? It's an underserved community. But I understand why, because it's a tough one, right? It's a tough one, and it involves a lot of money, and you're taking a lot of risk. And if we don't buy it, who's going to buy it, right? And then you got to think, how many of us are gamers? How many of us are going to buy it and play it? And so it is. It is tough. But I do want it to succeed. I absolutely do, and I definitely hope that. Definitely hope that they get it made. Again, I'm not the biggest, I'm not the biggest fan of the Snake Eye stuff, but whatever. Look, I'll take it if I can get a good G.I. Joe game. That's for sure. And yes, real quick, War Chest. Yes, Conquer's Bad Fur Day, amazing game. Todd C, what's in the house?
What's up, Todd?
Yeah, man. And I want to make sure too that I said hey to Frostbite. Did I earlier? Because and because I had seen him and he is definitely chatting there, and I just if I missed him, I definitely apologize for that, because I think he kind of slipped in while we were talking for a moment.
Yeah, and, we got lots of Aussie support, so we got to support our Aussies.
Yes, we do. 100%. Love them all. Absolutely. And right now at 10 o'clock, this is kind of what I'm guessing midday the next day for them, right? Something like that. I always forget.
I did see a good custom of Naugahyde. Somebody put a Wolverine Hugh Jackman head on him. And then put the Naugahyde hat on the Naugahyde body.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yes. Let's see. Okay, Frostbite says yeah twice. All right, cool. Sorry, I just want to make sure, man. I get self-conscious about that, because then all of a sudden I look up and see somebody slipped in and they've already commented 4 times, and I'm like, did I say something? And Mike Ray, this is I guess I'm not sure. I know it's off conversation that people forget about the Rattler HasLab. I'm not exactly sure what that means. We've definitely covered it. It's not something we totally go over on this show, but we've definitely brought it up.
Well, it could come down to the fact that it seems to have slowed down a lot. But if you followed any crowdfunding campaign ever in the history of crowdfunding campaigns, right, it's got a big boost at the beginning, and then it tapers off to right in the middle, and then right at the end it starts to build back up, and then the last 48 hours you get another 3,000 backers.
100%. You already know. You know exactly what's going to happen. And Aaron the Toy Enhancer, what's up, buddy? Yeah, busted out the shirt today. And I actually planned on wearing it a while back too, and I forgot that I had worn it on a stream one night, and I sat on a chair downstairs, and I completely forgot that it was down there. And I was like, where is that damn shirt? And then I found it yesterday, and I was like, I gotta wear this shirt again. But yeah, it's definitely gonna happen, right? That the last 48 hours, right? It's just gonna crush it, man. And so no one needs to worry a bit about that. It is going to get every tier 100%.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah. And Todd sees the money I spent on a Rattler can get me wave 1 of Brutal Realms Kickstarter. Okay, nice.
Yeah, that Kickstarter's coming down to the wire soon. I think they keep trucking away at it. It seems to be doing pretty well.
All right, so let's get into it. Final hour. We've got some of our little stories out of the way. It's time to get into some of our fun stuff. We're gonna talk about a couple docs. I'm not gonna spend a million hours on this topic, but it's something I watched the other night. And so 3-star drawer asked me earlier why I had a big picture of Nickleback on the thumbnail. And
I almost didn't show up tonight because it was such an offense to see their faces on anything. I mean, just
let me tell you something, man. Anybody that knows me and anybody that really knows me knows that I care nothing for that band. I care nothing for the music. Super popular when I was working bartending at a TGI Fridays, and you couldn't get away from them. This is the mid 2000s, and they're every freaking where. Early 2000s, mid 2000s. But there's a documentary on Netflix, and it is about Nickelback. And look, like many of you, not a big fan. Okay, not a band that I cared anything about, as I played drums most of my entire life. I was into most of your classic rock and your, funk and all this kind of stuff. And Nickelback's music for me kind of went anti that. It's very safe, very corporate. I'd consider it overplayed, but that's what happens when you write good songs. When the bottom line is that ultimately, when you actually go through and listen to the structure of the songs, they're well-written songs. They just are. It's not my style of music, but I can still understand and respect the craft. I've been around a lot of music over the years. And so I don't know why I started to watch it. I stumbled across this documentary. It's called Hate to Love Nickelback. And
perfect.
And it goes through the beginnings of the band. It goes through them touring for 17 straight months on the road to promote an album. And let me tell you, that is no easy feat. If you think that it's like that's the life and it's just all, you spend 17 months in a van with 5 guys, and a big trailer with your equipment in it on the road, staying at hotels and crap. You do that for 17 months. Trust me, it's not an easy thing to do. And so like I'm watching it and I'm growing more respect for this band because these are Canadian rockers. They grew up in small town. 3 of them are related. They also, like Spinal Tap, went through like 4 drummers, 3 drummers. And one of them dropped out right before they got semi-famous. Then the other one dropped out of the band, and they kind of had to fire him actually, but he was really becoming despondent right before they really, really, really took off. I mean, they've sold like 50 million albums or something. It's crazy. And I gotta say, like watching it and hearing these guys talk, and their wives talk and their family, moms and dads and whatever, stepdads and all this kind of stuff. It gave me a more respect for this band. Do I enjoy their music? No, I don't.
Okay.
But having having played with different bands and stuff like that, and understanding like the dedication that it takes for people who really truly are just put themselves out there, borrowing money from family members, like thousands of dollars to pay for a studio session, or thousands of dollars to pay for the pressing of CDs, thousands of, you owe all these different family members, and you have to pay them back. And the obligation that someone would feel to say, look, we have to keep going because we have to pay our mom back. We have to pay our dad back, our brother, our, whatever. And so I encourage you guys. It's not super long. It's an hour and 30 minutes. It's an hour and a half, but it is actually pretty entertaining and it is actually really good. And you can tell that these guys, they kind of laid everything out on the line. Like they signed to a metal label, like a metal label that had like Stained on it, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like they had like metal records out, and this band comes in. And of course, those metal, bands were like, who the hell are these guys?
Right.
But they saved that label. That label still survives today because of this band, but they would have folded far before. And so yeah, it's an interesting documentary. There's a lot of interesting stuff, and obviously the lead singer Chad Kroger, or Kruger, however you want to pronounce it, he's got an interesting story. Troubled kid, got in trouble all the time and shit. And it's one of those classic stories of somebody who finds music, right, and is able to kind of get away from that life and do something positive. And able to get away with that. Dude, like it's really interesting documentary. So I would encourage you guys. Like I said, I don't want to go on forever about it. I just want to bring it up for a minute and tell you, I would encourage y'all to check it out. If you like their music, great, all the better. If you don't like their music, it's still an interesting documentary, as most, as a lot of documentaries are these days. There's some of the great, best watching you can do on streaming right now.
Yeah, really.
So anyway, that's mine. So I wanted you to bring yours up, and I didn't know which one you were going to go with, so I didn't have a banner for it.
All right, so I just real briefly, I want to talk about both of them because one relates to yours, right? Because it's music related, and the other relates to Netflix. So the first one, this is an older one. I watched this a couple years ago. But it's called Pistols, and it's on Hulu, and it's all about the Sex Pistols. It's not a documentary; it's a docudrama. Both of these are docudramas. So they try to reenact the scenes and create the narrative, and then kind of build up the history with stuff that's on there, right? So, it goes through the whole thing, and basically the most punk band ever really wasn't punk if you break it down.
Okay.
If you get into the story and everything, you realize that it was manipulated by one person who is the record label, who was the corporate man, the money man, and he threw these three guys together, and one of them was just trying to make a band because he was a musician. The other guys were just on drugs, just having fun or doing whatever. There were self-destructive behaviors, and you throw them all together and it becomes this really weird thing that took Britain by storm and kind of spread all over. And then that whole punk movement became a big thing. I enjoyed the series. It's dark because if you know anything about the history, you know how it ends up for a couple of them anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
in particular,
Sid, Sid and Nancy, that's a big thing. But it was an interesting story, and I appreciated the storytelling method. But one that's more recent that just dropped on Netflix is this other one that we just finished watching this past weekend. And we thoroughly enjoyed it, called Wyatt Earp and the Cowboy War. It puts a geopolitical context into Tombstone and lets you know that it affected the global economy.
Wow.
What was happening in Tombstone affected the global economy. J.P. Morgan was trying to get European backers in the silver trade. And since he basically installed Chester A. Arthur as the president, he was trying to put pressure on him. And so Chester said, okay, we'll send out federal troops. And then the government turned on him because everybody in the House and Senate said, no, that's how the Civil War started. And so then it became a whole political thing across the entire nation where the South sided with Ike Clinton and the North sided with the Earps. And you had this big conflict brewing between Democrats and Republicans, between the North and the South, between every, dividing conflict we've ever had. And it was stoked by the media. And it all started with the unsanctioned robbing of a Wells Fargo transport that had $20,000 in that time frame of silver, and some of Ike's guys were unsanctioned and stole did a heist on this stagecoach, and so Wyatt Earp came down to deal with it, to solve it basically, and he did. And then that embroiled everybody into this Ike versus Wyatt thing. And this is a really Ike versus Wyatt story. Goes into the court battles, goes into both sides of it, and really gets into the nitty gritty of these two men and their lives. Now, the things that it leaves out three of Wyatt's brothers. So it only includes the ones that were in the movie Tombstone. So Virgil and Morgan are the only ones that were included in this, even though James was there before them, and James actually passed on the town marshal to Virgil as he stepped back from it. And then the youngest brother came in when Morgan was killed to help Wyatt hunt down the rest of the cowboys. And then the other brother was half brother, and he really wasn't involved. But so, there's some nitpicks there. They didn't talk about Wyatt's wives. He had 3 wives. One of them died of consumption within a year of them being married. And then he married a prostitute who got hooked on laudanum. And then he started cheating on her with Josephine, who was also Behan's girl. And so that created a whole thing between him and Behan. And that's why Behan sided with the Clantons. And then you just got this whole interweaving story of this political intrigue that affected the entire globe's financial politics.
So
really
does this have to do? It include like the Federal Reserve Act, where J.P. Morgan, the financial crisis in the late 1800s. Is this kind of what this is involved? It has to do with a bit.
A little bit, yes.
Okay.
It very, very briefly touches on that, but yeah, no. J.P. Morgan was heavily involved with this story for sure, and manipulating events, so much so that when Chester A. Arthur could no longer help him, he got Garfield to become the next president. So he went from a Republican to a Democrat, and Garfield comes in and he goes right down the middle of the line. He keeps people from both sides in power. So he lets the Democrats and Republicans kind of rule equally and have their input in his administration. And, he kind of pulled them out of that situation before his unfortunate untimely end. But
okay. Because I had gotten into a conversation about kind of all that stuff that was going on in the late 1800s with the Federal Reserve and everything, and how J.P. Morgan was heavily involved with all of that. And so
and Wells Fargo too, because Wells Fargo was the protected transport of these goods, and then they keep getting robbed.
Yes.
And so they're like, well, how do we trust you? And that's what caused the instability in the silver market and in the U.S. economy at that time, why they couldn't get these foreign investors to help fund some of this, because Tombstone was the largest silver mining area in the United States around that time. So, it's fascinating. And like I said, it starts with the battle at the OK Corral, with the gunfight at the OK Corral kind of thing, but it goes back and forth through the timeline, and Doc Holliday, Big Nose Kate, Behan, Curly Bill, the Clantons and the Clowrys, they go through the whole gambit, except for those 3 brothers and the wives. They didn't really talk about the wives much.
And what's the name of it again?
It is, if you just search Wyatt Earp on Netflix, you'll find it. But Wyatt Earp and the Cowboy War. Okay,
cool. All right. Yeah, hell yeah. That's 2 recommendations from you. Mine is some Nickleback, and you are some Sex Pistols and some Wyatt Earp. Documentaries right now, I mean, when it comes to streaming, man, sometimes it's just some of the best stuff you can watch, it really is. And with as much content that's out there and so much of it that's bad, a lot of times your documentary films and or series, like a biopic series, so to speak, are some of the best stuff, out there. And so, yeah, man, I'll definitely check that out. And the Sex Pistols, that is a man, and a short. It's like a very hot white star, or like burns really hot and really bright and burns out really quickly, right?
Yep.
And it takes over for a time, and then, you know, trying to parlay that into success after that movement was extremely difficult, even as they were looked at as like pioneers. And in that punk movement, it's just, once it was kind of done, it was done, you know, for quite some time. So real quick, I just want to go through some of the chat.
Yeah, you know, we didn't cover it here, but yes, it was covered all
Okay.
over the place. We know the Pinkertons still exist. They are out there still.
Love some Red Dead. Love some Red Dead Redemption 2. That game is fan freaking tastic, dude.
Heard lots of good things about it. My nephew loves that game. So
oh no, dude, unbelievable. And the Pinkertons have a very big starring role. So real quick, let's see. 3-star draw says, I don't mind Nickleback, fight me. Well, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you at all, man. And then Mike Ray says, didn't they give Nickleback CDs away with phone books? I don't know. I do not know. I know some other inventive ways that artists gave away CDs. I won't mention them because it's my favorite artist, but it definitely got him to the top of the Billboard charts, and it was kind of a real shady technique. Prince gave away a copy of his new album Musicology in 2004 with every ticket sold for his concert tour. So you can imagine that pushed his album sales to the top of the Billboard charts. It was a loophole that was soon closed very soon thereafter. Same time, Toy says, Nickelback, Side of a Bullet, fight me. All right, we got a lot of fighting going on. Legend Series, Nickelback is a guilty pleasure.
There you go.
And then War Chest with a serious chat for once. Now he says, Nickelback doesn't bother me. Not something I would go see, like Rollins' Band of Rage against the Machine, but the doc was good. They've earned their fame for sure. I agree. They actually have definitely earned it now. It is what it is, man. When things take off into the zeitgeist, man, and people just buy in lock, stock, and barrel, they do. And of course, Bobby Wald asking about, did you see the Wyatt Earp doc? Yes. Of course, he's asking 3-star draw that, but yeah, 3-star, check that out. But he doesn't have Netflix, and that can be a little bit of a barrier. And so, no, I don't want everybody to enjoy Nickelback because they're entertaining. Frostbite. And same time, good friends with Pantera. Yes, definitely. And then this one, Todd C. mentioned about Hulk Hogan stole Billy Graham's entire identity. I have heard about that. I don't know if I, a lot about it, but definitely. And then War Chest, yes, that 4 Non-Blondes documentary. I can't wait either. I want to know what happened. Down there? Where at the bottom here? Some people think the movie Firefox starring Clint Eastwood isn't a documentary, but according to my sources, based on true events. Clint really did that when he was a spy. Oh my god!
Let me tell you about the time that I was a spy in Soviet Russia in 1990.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I was there. I wasn't a spy, but I was definitely there.
If you only saw some of the Instagram messages that I get from him, they are amazing. I promise they are. Anyway, awesome. All right. So yes, so let's float through a few trailers, shall we?
Take a look.
And then we're gonna get on our top 5 Tarantino films while you guys punch in your top 5 as well. Not yet. Hold your freaking horses. Take a look at a few trailers real quick. One is the Kraven the Hunter movie. God, I love Kraven the Hunter. I love the
great story.
I love the Spider-Man series where he off Spider-Man, so to speak. It's Kraven the Hunter. It's across 3 different comics. I had it as a child. I have all of them except for one. I'm missing one, and I can't remember which one it is. But I loved it, and love Kraven the Hunter. Love the character, and I just wish this movie was going to be good, and I just don't have any faith whatsoever, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. I mean, Sony's not been doing good with the Spider-Man property, but they've been putting stuff out there to keep the license.
Yeah, not so much. But we'll take a look. And you and I'm gonna stop it maybe every few seconds.
Kim?
Aaron Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was Quicksilver or whatever in the MCU.
Yeah,
but
I like him just fine. He's actually, you know what? He has done some really good roles, better than that.
Yeah,
better than that role, 100 times better than that role.
Yep.
And he has actually done some really great work as an actor in the last few years, other than Age of Ultron.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I just don't know. I don't know. Again, without Spider-Man in this universe, I just don't know what they can do with that universe. I do think you need that connective tissue. To connect all these villains together and then bring them in a Sinister Six style way, right?
Yep.
I mean, it just makes too much sense. I mean, it just does.
Oh, I can't think of the guy's name. The guy who played the Green Goblin in The Amazing Spider-Man.
But
that actor, after he did that role, kind of fell off the map. He kind of disappeared. I mean, he looked like he could be the next Leonardo DiCaprio or something. He looked like he was going places, and then he disappeared. And then you've got the Harry Osborn from the first Spider-Man movies, and he's gone now because he's been Me Too'd. So,
3-star says this movie is going to be terrible. Talking about Craven.
I
Craven.
I don't know that it's going to be terrible, but it's not going to be what we want, because we want Spider-Man in there. We want Craven's Last Hunt, and to tell his origin story before the movie. I don't know. It's not a bad idea, because I hate seeing the character and then going backwards and telling it.
Look, I get it. I do. I get it. Establishing the villains, but the problem is we're probably not going to get a Spider-Man with these villains movie.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
You know what I mean? And so and obviously the rumors of Spider-Man 4 and trying to figure out how to do that with the MCU and everything. So
here's I mean, as Sony, what do you do? Because you don't own Tom Holland as Spider-Man. You've got Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And so are you going to make another Andrew Garfield movie? Because he got his redemption arc in No Way Home.
That's right. Yes.
So you could bring that actor back to play Spider-Man again in this new universe with Venom, with Craven, with Morbius, with all this stuff going on, right?
Yeah, and I heard the comment today from Hill versus Babyface on the Real BBC podcast or show that they do on Tuesdays. About wanting to do a Tobey Maguire middle-aged Spider-Man, and the problems about being like married and kids. They're never going to do anything that interesting, because it's not a popcorn movie.
Right.
You can't take the Spider-Man character at this point and go backwards and try to make a down-to-earth, grounded Batman Begins style movie or something in that nature. You just can't do it. It has to be bombastic. It has to be huge. It has to be world-saving, so to speak. And they just can't go backwards that way. Do I think there are interesting ideas you can do with it? Yes, but unfortunately at this point, you can't do that. You cannot go back and make a grounded Spider-Man movie. I just don't see it.
Right. No, yeah.
So let's
I mean, you've got to go back to his roots, and that's what they set up the last one for. War Chest. I don't want to say I'm not a Holland fan per se, because after No Way Home, he's actually become Spider-Man now. Everything up to that point, he had not been Spider-Man, but now he's had his Uncle Ben moment. He's matured as an actor. He's matured as a character, and now he can actually be Spider-Man instead of Spider-Boy, which he has been. He's been Tony Stark's Spider-Boy up until this point. And now he can actually become Spider-Man because nobody knows who he is. He can become that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and start the whole thing from the ground up.
That's true. I mean, and that is true. And if they do decide to make it more of a just within New York City and just make it that smaller scale, then yes, I can
Ain't nobody going to be Toby. Ain't nobody gonna be Toby but Toby.
Yeah, that's for sure. And that's and also too because of the character, the ownership and everything. That's why you didn't have Mary Jane in the MCU, movies and
well, so yeah, that all comes down to licensing, right?
yes, yes,
It's what they had the rights, what Marvel had the rights to use versus Sony because
right,
and Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire is one of the best superhero movies that's ever been made. It's top 3 in my book. It goes right up there with
Yep.
Superman, Batman Returns, Dark Knight, and that movie. So those 4 kind of vie for my top 3 positions.
yeah. Well, one that does not vie for any of my positions is Venom, and the first movie was okay. The second movie I thought was very passive in my opinion. And here is the Venom Last Dance official trailer. So let's take a look at this one here and see what
the biggest disappointment about the second one was that it was a rehash of the first one.
Pretty much, yeah. Woody Harrelson was not an interesting character.
Hey, they could have done so much with Cletus, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they just failed with
you should probably know the premise of this one is that all the symbiotes make their way to Earth, and it ends up being Venom versus the symbiotes.
Yeah, and we've got the symbiote war going on, right?
Yeah.
And here's my thing. Again, this is why I don't like telling the origin stories like this, because then you have to make them an anti-hero, right? You have to show that there's some sympathetic qualities to this villain.
Correct.
That's not what villains are for, right? Yep. Venom was straight up evil, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And he didn't become an anti-hero until the other symbiote showed up and scared him to death, right?
And I think the play between Tom Hardy and Venom and kind of the joking back and forth, and it's like, I'm Venom. He's like, Venom. It's just goofy to me. I think the joke is played out at this point. Was it funny seeing him sitting in or getting lobsters out of a lobster tank or whatever, and yes, but we're 3 movies in, and I mean, have we really moved this character forward? No. And like you said, also about the fact that you do have to make them like the anti-hero. You have to find something sympathetic. So you have to care for Tom Holland's relationship, or you have to care for Venom and that he's on this planet and he's got or whatever it is, right? Yeah. Like you've got to have some sympathetic motive there. And I don't want that with this character, right? Yeah. Like the first one was a kind of a surprise hit, I think. The second one, I don't think was as well received,
but it still made money. So that's the thing is that they've all made money, and so it doesn't matter if they're good or not because the studio only cares if they make money.
Yeah,
and they're going to use the same formula.
Yep.
And why doesn't Venom eat the dogs? I'm just saying Venom would eat those dogs.
Yeah, but you can't do that because all the kids that go to see this movie would scream.
No, everybody who went to go see the movie would scream, especially Shark Eyes.
And the Major Tom, thing with the space,
that's funny.
Here's the symbiotes, they have under lock and key, and the government is involved now.
I love Tue Aug. I think that guy's an amazing actor, and I like to see him in just about everything.
I agree. But this, this really does kind of, to me, at least with the trailer, and look, they've got to show it, but it definitely devolves into set piece after set piece, like action set piece on a plane, underwater, like, Tom Hardy, they're trying to get away, trying to maybe disappear, get off the grid, off the radar. And then here's the symbiotes, that are coming in. And then here's the plane scene I was talking about. For those that haven't seen it, it's if the effects are good, the fight scenes are good, people are going to go see it. If it's, your typical popcorn movie.
I mean, to me, it looks better than the first two.
It does look better than the first two. Just off
and I enjoyed the first two for what they were, you know. This is a dumb popcorn movie, and it'll be entertaining. And I think for me, this one will have probably more entertainment value than Kraven the Hunter, maybe.
And here's the horse scene that Eric Thurman was talking about.
Yeah.
You know, let's see how fast you can go or whatever. And I mean, look, it look, you know, hey, I give it what it is. It looks fun, or it's just, hey, you know, take it for what it is. It is coming in October. Does the studio have a lot of faith? Will it be the best movie in October? The biggest making movie in October? Possibly. I don't know what the release schedule is, you know, off the top of my head. But I could see that, you know, compared to what else is out there. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. So, I want to bring this one up too. The Christopher Reeves, the Christopher Reeves story, Superman, official trailer. So I want to show this, and real quick too. Let's see here. Go through the chat just a little bit. Frostbite says I was a bit disappointed with the first one. Haven't bothered watching the second one yet,
and that's fair. I mean, they're not good movies.
Ward Chess says, other than the visual Venom on the big screen, even the voice, the movies were dog shit. Yeah, it just, you know, you're either going to like that or you're not. You're either going to think it's funny or you're not, right? The jokes and the kind of, you know, some of it does get a little repetitive to me. Todd C says Venom can join Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, Frostbite with Sony and focusing on the relationship, focusing on woke. Well, that is definitely their thing, but I think they're starting to wake up a bit. And I
mean, Sony's probably done that less than a lot of companies have.
Yeah, Disney definitely.
Disney went hardcore with it. Warner Brothers dove into it. I think Sony skirted it just enough because they're like, we got to make money. You think about, you know, you did Despicable Me, you know, the Hotel Transylvania's. They're out there to make money, and Sony does not have a streaming service, so they avoided that pitfall of money. You know, so they're still licensing their stuff, so they're still making money off of that. They're making competent films that are making money, and that's their goal. And they're not. And if you're talking about Madam Web or whatever, that was a misstep on everybody's part, and they get that.
Yeah,
even Sydney Sweeney gets that.
Yes, and you know what? I get Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, right.
I get her so much. All right, let's jump into Superman, the Christopher Reeve story.
Yeah. Now, if you're watching this trailer straight through and not already tearing up, you just have no soul.
I love the footage. Love the footage. Love the behind the scenes footage. Love the
music.
Footage. Yeah, you gotta love the music, which I want to definitely talk over.
Yes.
You know, but you know the interviews.
To become a serious classical actor, unless, of course, they offer you a load of money to do something else.
I mean, that's what Robert Downey did,
right?
He would fly. Doing things with my dad. It was all about activity and action. Riding bikes, playing soccer, skiing.
My dad was very competitive, and he didn't necessarily slow down.
We said goodbye, and he gave this wave. That was the last time I saw him on his feet.
Yeah.
Mr. Grieve currently
it's going to get you.
Yeah, it is one of those ones. Yeah.
They mentioned earlier, or somebody mentioned earlier, that, I mean, you can watch that footage online still on YouTube, the actual accident.
Yes.
But what's going to get me, and I think a lot of other people, not just his journey through all this, but his relationship with Robin Williams and what Robin Williams and Christopher Reeve meant to so many people.
Yeah, and tragic for both of those people, actually.
Yep. Yeah.
Really. Yeah, and the irony too of it, and that's this is talking about them, and I had known about them being close friends, and but it is the guy who plays Superman, right? And this is his condition, right? It's fascinating. Life is a fascinating thing, man. But yeah, this looks good. I'm sure to get you right in the feels. Have no doubt about it.
But for everyone else in the same condition.
The fact that Superman was in a wheelchair and was willing to go public with it was huge.
Help is on the way.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. Definitely.
I mean, and
I don't need to hear
there's
that,
not
man.
really an early actor who played Superman that didn't have some tragic end.
Oh gosh, yes.
You think about George Reeves.
Yeah. George Reeves. Yeah, didn't he get shot?
Yes.
And killed? Like,
yeah.
golly.
Because somebody said, "Hey, you're Superman. You're bulletproof, right?" Kabam.
Yeah. Yeah. This and so this is coming out. It's going to be in theaters in September. So it might be worth seeing. You might not want to take anybody that knows you, so that way when you start crying, nobody can watch you cry.
And look, if you're in the theater, everybody in that theater is balling. So
that's true. So I guess you are kind of safe. I mean, look, I'm a sucker for I'm a softie, so I will cry, man. I cry at stuff. I ain't afraid to admit it. And at my age too, I start looking at my own mortality and other things like that. And so what was the movie I went to? Is it Deadpool? I don't even remember. I went to see something with my son, and I'm like tearing up, and I'm just like, I hope he's not looking at me right now. I'm like, golly, this is stupid. But so this one's for 3-star draw right here. I want to share this trailer. This for 3-star draw. We're gonna go through Beetlejuice.
Now, I mean, we're definitely going to go see this one. My wife has more of a love of Beetlejuice than I do. My daughter likes the movie Beetlejuice. So we'll see.
So, and 3-star says, yeah, you said you teared up at Daddy. Yeah, I did. I sure did. I sure did tear up during Deadpool Wolverine. And it was probably because I'm thinking back to, it might have even been during the credits, watching all the filming of the X-Men movies, and and you look at how young the actors are, and the little blooper reels they have on the screen, and all that stuff, and it's just like, golly, I'm getting old. But anyway, so all right, here we go.
That's interesting. One of my comments disappeared. That's interesting.
It's
on YouTube. It's on YouTube, but it's not on the StreamYard chat. Interesting.
Really? Okay. Well, anyway, so let's take a look at Beetlegeist. Got to make sure that music, man.
Yeah.
To fill the empty voids in your life. We'll see who gets the last laugh.
What's her name? Ortega. She's interesting. I like her.
Yeah, she's a little firecracker.
Yeah.
She don't play no games. So obviously they have to go back to the funeral for Jeffrey Jones' character, the father.
Is your mom Lydia Dietz?
Unfortunately.
She's a legend.
Yeah, because you can't put him in a movie anymore because of his indiscretions.
Yeah. No, you cannot. There he is.
So the interesting thing to me is this right there. You have all the shrunken heads,
right?
And like, how many Beetlejuices are there? Because one of them has a shrunken head.
Well, right,
because his head doesn't just grow back, because he uses that shrunken head version of himself as something else. So there has to be multiple Beetlejuices.
Yes, because at the end of that movie, obviously, when he tries to take the serving number,
yeah,
right,
from the head shrinker.
Yeah, it's great. So look, it looks like fun. I'm gonna go see it. I did tell you, I think last week, that when I went back to watch the Beetlejuice movie, I did not it didn't hit me the way I thought it was going to.
See, that's the shrunken head version.
Yeah. And then obviously his ex, the one where he has the finger with the ring still on it, she comes back to visit him, obviously. Tragedy by the Bee Gees. Love that song, but can't play it. So I just hate
I am not really looking forward to this. I know we're going to go see it, but this is not high on my excitement levels. I mean, I love Michael Keaton. You know, I discounted him in 1989 and said, how can Mr. Mom play Batman? But, you know, between that and Birdman and several of his other roles that he's done, self-reflective things, I've come to appreciate him more.
Oh no, I'm definitely with you on that, and I do like him. But yes, there are some movies he's done that I think are far better as far as him.
Yeah.
But yes, this is as far as, you know, an iconic character, so to speak. Definitely one that's expected to do pretty well, and I would expect it to do pretty well. Now we will see, however, the drop off to week 2, because that's going to tell the tale of this movie. And real quick, War Chest is bouncing out, man. And he also reminds everybody, hit that like button. And I've forgotten to mention it the entire time. Yes, hit the like button if you can. And obviously it definitely helps, and really appreciate it. And anybody watching the replay, as long as none of these companies decide to block this video as soon as it's over, which they have done a couple times because of the trailers or whatever.
Hey, we've been talking over it, so it's unlikely that they're going to get the sound bites from it. But and with the images, the fact that we're on here, I don't know, that's going to change things. So who knows?
So yeah, like definitely hit the like button though, and then it's very much appreciated. And I appreciate everybody being here for sure, 100%. Let's see here real quick too. What is that? I love Beetlejuice, the original, but I think Tim Burton lost his groove after Big Fish. It's also
I like Big Fish.
3-star draw says 80 mil. I'm calling it. All right, so let me go ahead and bring that down there. I've got a couple more trailers on here, or do you want to go ahead and get into our Tarantino films? Because it's fine with me. You know, we're getting pretty close to the backstop.
Plenty more trailers that we can talk about. You know, the Rings of Power controversies and
sure. I mean, and that's going to be coming out soon. But
2 days, we're actually a day away essentially from that being dropped.
I kind of want to. Kind of want to watch it and talk about it next week.
Okay.
And just kind of, you know.
So you have to take it in context.
Yes.
I have not seen the first season.
Oh, I watched it, and it's terrible.
I didn't watch it because I didn't want Tolkien to be tarnished. And
you don't need to watch it. You know this story. You know this story, so you don't need to watch it. I'm the one that has to watch it. But of course, knowing what I know and what they've changed in this story.
Well, and so it comes down to the fact that they released no screeners to the press.
You know it's bad. You know it's bad if they're not giving review copies out. They're not letting a review even come up. They haven't let review copies out, but they are blocking and banning all references to the movie. If you show a frame of it, they're striking your channel or whatever to say, hey, take that down. You can't talk about that. They're not giving the press the opportunity to talk about it or to see it. And it's 2 days or day now from dropping. And if the press isn't getting them, you know it's bad. So when it drops, it's going to be a pile of hot garbage. Yes, the bottom line, you know that when it's not sent out, when you don't have those advanced screeners, no one's able to talk about it, then because they know that it's going to absolutely destroy the views, and at first season destroyed the views. By the time this one comes out, a lot of people just don't care, at that point. So, but it's up to you. Trust me, I am by no means forcing you to watch that show. It is bad. It is bad, and it will make you want to pull your hair out at times because of the motivation.
I mean, the entire basic premise of Galadriel is destroyed in every aspect of the first season, and they cannot go anywhere in the second season without continuing that character assassination, because Galadriel is the most powerful woman, but one of the most powerful beings in the entire Tolkien universe. She is the most powerful, most feminine woman in the Tolkien world. And they throw her in boobless armor and have her go out and kill a cave troll in 13 seconds. And
it's just Matthew, it's everything. It's sailing across an entire ocean, and then just like jumping off of a boat and swimming forever, and then running into Sauron nowhere, and then sailing to Numenor, and then like teaching the Numenorians how to fight, and then just all of it is just.
I mean, just going through the bullet points of what happened in season 1 sounds like a comedy, right? It's got to be a parody, right?
Yes,
because it can't be true. Because Galadriel never had any doubt. She knew what evil was, and so when she came across Sauron, who in the Second Age is pure evil, there's nothing human, nothing good left in him by the Second Age. So she would know right away that that is evil. And what does she do? She lets him go. She doesn't tell anyone, oh, Halbrand was Sauron. Did you guys know that? He's the ultimate evil in the world. No, she lets him go and doesn't tell anybody. And in fact, she rewrites the history of the Forging of the Rings, which it happened in a completely different order than what they've done in this show. So they're destroying Tolkien lore for their own political agenda. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to get out of this.
You don't even really know.
It's bombing horribly,
and it will continue to.
Yeah.
And so it's really the only reason as far as watching it is like watching The Acolyte, because I'm curious to see just how far it can fall on, how much damage it can do. I guess. But if you are a fan, yes, it is.
I will probably watch the first episode of season 2, and that's about it.
Look, I get it. Eric Thurman says not for me. He said I'm not watching it. Model Misfit, Loki Wartooth, good to see you, buddy. Says I can't watch it, and obviously throws up the barf emoji. Yeah. I'm with you. It's it's brutal, and if you are a Tolkien fan, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you probably already don't like it, or you've chosen not to watch it, or you've seen enough to know that it's not for you.
3-star. I just love the memes that came out from that, and it says the failure of one, the failure of two, the failure of many, and it goes, Leslie Headland, Kathleen Kennedy, Disney.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's hard to watch shows like that because they are so bad, and sometimes it's not like a Madam Web or where it's you can really just laugh at it because it is so stupid. It's like those kind of shows do make you really want to scream at the TV.
You want to
yell at the television.
Is I've gone back and I've started rereading the Darth Bane trilogy.
Okay.
Right. And
nice.
And in the first book, the first book for the Darth Bane trilogy, basically encompasses everything that they probably wanted to do with the Acolyte, but failed miserably at, because that story actually told a story and had compelling characters and developed this relationship, this understanding, whatever. He's the bad guy. Right. And you're trying to see where he goes with it. And to go through that book, I think, is what Leslie Headland may have been trying to do with the Acolyte. So I'll give her maybe some credit on that aspect, but she failed miserably by self-inserting and putting her own evil agenda into it, because I mean she turned a blind eye to Harvey Weinstein for as many years as she worked for him.
It's just brutal, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it just is. It's awful writing. The acting is not good. The direction is not good. The cinematography is not good. The sets look cheap for $180 million plus. It's just fascinating how a company can spend that kind of money on something so bad and then try to tell you how good it is. I saw that.
So
I
Todd
did see
C, unfortunately, it's a bait and switch. It's not really about the War of the Rohirrim. It's not about Hell Hammerhand, which it should be. It's about the daughter or the niece or whatever.
Yes, it is. It is a bait and switch, actually. And it's a shame, but the trailer specifically, and it's Peter Jackson. That's what, it's the trailer makes it apparently clear what this is: a girl boss, key to everything.
And it's so frustrating because she is a character who wasn't actually specifically named in Tolkien lore. She was not one of the Shield Maidens. She was not one of the female warriors that fought with the Rohirrim. And you could tell those stories for those women, those 3 or 4 women that are noted in the Rohirrim lore as the warrior women of the Rohirrim. And one of them was in Lord of the Rings, right? She was there. Right. So why not tell their stories if that's what you want to do, instead of usurping Hammerhand's greatest triumph, why they named it Helm's Deep, why they did the things that they did in Lord of the Rings, because of this whole situation. So I'm
the
not
dialogue.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, the dialogue. I mean, once you hear it and you understand, and it's like, God, it reminds me of like the Disney princess thing now, where they don't want them to be romantically involved, or they don't want them, they don't want their agency to be taken away. They have to have their agency and make their own,
Part of me wonders if this is one of those, because if it was done as anime and filmed and acted originally in Japanese, if it is one of the translation companies that has been usurped by
that's possible,
one of these companies that have changed the entire dialogue and storylines to reflect what they want it to reflect.
That's a big thing going on right now.
Rather than what was originally written. And so I wonder about that.
That is a big thing going on right now out of the East. You are having a lot of that happen. Your translations and stuff like that are being completely rearranged and changed from the creators. And I don't know. Maybe that will come out. The trailer's gotten like, I don't even know how many views, like what is it, 19 million views in the last 5 days.
Well, at least it's not like some of these other shows that have so many downvotes that they're being ratioed.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
right, let's get on to Tarantino.
Yeah, let's get on to Quentin. Fun little topic, nothing too crazy, but just coming up with stuff, and it's like, hey, what about Tarantino films? What is maybe your top 5? I started to go like top 10. That's way too many, because there's only, then you just be putting them in order. So yes. So our top 5 Tarantino films, that would be pretty fun to do. And so let me just get a couple things going. Let's see. I will go first, because I want to hear your favorite one last, actually. Now,
do we just want to go your 5, my 5, your 4, my 4, and go that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good. So okay. I'm gonna go with my number 5, if I can find the little picture that I saved in here somewhere, which I did, but these there it is. It's I love it when you have your icons and they're just like so tiny that you can't see them. All right. Here we go. There it is. All right. So my number 5 is somewhat kind of out of order. Kill Bill Volume 2. I love the wrap up to this movie. Some would say that it is it's not quite as doesn't quite hit like the first one. I love these movies. I remember buying a bootleg DVD of these films because I did not see them in the theater. And after the first one, like I was super stoked to see how it wrapped up. I love Uma Thurman, and I love this character. I just thought it was like the perfect wrap up. I love the when she kills Bill at the end and she uses the what is it, the damn 5 finger, or the what I'm talking about, the death punch, to name the band. And you don't realize, right? You don't even realize it. And so they're having the whole conversation, right, as he's dying right there. But yeah, I definitely, for me, out of my choices, I definitely like the way that the film wrapped up. But I just think she's fantastic, and so that's my number 5. That's my number 5.
All right.
Kill Bill Volume Deuce.
My number 5 is the my number 5 is The Hateful Eight.
Okay.
I enjoyed that movie. I love the Western aspect of it. Everything about that movie I thought was just engaging. I thought it was an interesting story. It had a little mystery to it. It had a lot of different elements in there. The acting I thought was really good with it. So my number 5's The Hateful Eight.
Word. I like it. All right. And so far, let's see. 3-star draw says, ouch, that made it that far on the list. Eric Thurman digs The Hateful Eight. So look, everybody's got their lists, man. You may not, some people may not like my next choice, but this one is actually further down on the list than a lot of people probably think that it should be. But yeah, my number, well, screw the picture. It's hard to move all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my number 4 is Reservoir Dogs. It was I do love that movie. It does not change scenes very often. You have to be into dialogue to like that movie. You really have to be into dialogue to like it, because it doesn't change settings very much. I think it has one of the greatest usages of the Stuck in the Middle with You song. And I used to have a really good friend of mine, was a manager I worked with at Fridays. He became one of my really good friends, and he used to dance to it because it used to come on our soundtrack at Fridays, and he'd come out and dance with it like he had the knife, and and he does the pouring the gasoline on the cop and the cutting the ear off, and he used to recreate it whenever we would have that song come on, and I just remember that. But yeah, look, dialogue heavy movie for sure. It is great, but if you aren't into dialogue, you are not. I think a lot of people recognize it as a great movie, but I think a lot of people probably forgotten how when they saw it, and I think get caught up in maybe remembrances of things. And I think for some people go back and watch it, it almost might somewhat not turn them off, but might make them a little bored at times. I can see that. I really can.
Maybe. I guess so.
It is. I mean, it doesn't change scenes like settings. It's a very heavy, like a couple 3 places, and that's like mostly it.
But remember, this was his first film.
Yes.
And he got Harvey Keitel in it.
Yeah.
Michael Madsen. He got what's his name? Chris Penn. I mean, he got some names. in this movie, and some people who he made names in this movie.
Yeah, no,
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi, you're right, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of why I wanted to have the picture up, because I'm like trying to run through it through memory. But anyway, so that's my number 4. It's not my number 4 for a lot of people. Maybe they're number 1. That's my number 4. I've got a few others.
All right,
go right ahead.
My number 4, Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
I got to kill some Nazis.
Love it.
And you got to get out there, and the actors are great. The story is fun. It's violent. It's all kinds of brutal, killing Nazis, right? And it is a World War II story. So we go from my Western to my World War II, right? Great genres that Tarantino has dipped his toes into and done a really good job with, and they are very Tarantino, because his gore and violence and all that stuff is great. And I just think that movie was a lot of fun. It was a great ride.
I'm with you. I absolutely love it. And for me, we'll see if it gets on my list. I love Christopher Waltz in that movie.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Kill Bill Volume 1. Holy shit. The action in this first one, just, Daryl Hannah's character, Michael Madsen again, right? Like the scenes with Daryl Hannah and I just, her journey, so to speak, right? Because of what she goes through.
Yeah.
And then the whole car with the pussy wagon, the pussy wagon scene, of stealing that car, right? She's freaking paralyzed. You got the
this
nurse,
this is the first hint of Tarantino's foot fetish, right?
Yes. And I just love it. I do. The action sequences, in this movie are freaking top notch. The music, Shonen Knife, that group, like I just, dude, yeah, it's definitely up there. For me over most anything else. There's only 2 left.
Yep.
But yeah, no, love it. I could watch it right now. And I may very well do that actually when I go to bed. Just put it on my phone. So anyway, so that's my number 3. What about you?
Well, my number 3 is Kill Bill Volume 2.
Okay.
I thought this was a great sequel, 2-parter, wrap up, finishing the story. I like the finishing of stories, the ending of the story, and you know how you got there. You can supposize how you got there, but I thought the whole wrap up that they did was really well done. Getting everybody together and just going doing the things, and everybody dying off, and then fighting Bill at the end, and finally having that last battle with Bill. That's what I wanted to see. Right. I wanted to see that last battle. And I like Kill Bill Volume 2 is my number 3.
Yeah. Well, it definitely made my top 5. And you're talking about the journey to get there. I guess for me, is like with Kill Bill, I just love the way with the fight with Lucy Liu and how she gets there, and all of the guys in the club, and like I said, Shonen Knife sitting there playing that one song they do. Yep. And so, but yes, I could fully understand as far as wrapping up. It's I remember buying both of them back to back, and we used to have this guy at the restaurant who was a server, and he got like 4 different burner towers, and he would get all the movies that came out, and he would go take them and he would burn them, and he'd bring them into Fridays. And on his shifts, he would sell them for like $4 a piece. And you'd get a little case, and you'd have the printout on it. You could get a color one for $5 or a black and white one for $4. It's like, and I remember getting them back to back, dude. And we used to we put it on. We used to just put it on and like let it play all the time. So yeah, great choice. I'm with you. My number 2, boom, Inglourious Bastards. I absolutely love this movie. It is goofy as all hell. I mean, really, like super goofy. Eli Roth is in it, and I kind of like him more here than as a director for the most part. And Michael Fassbender, who's an amazing actor, but Christopher Waltz really just steals the freaking show. Absolutely steals the show. and I love the at the end when he decides to carve the symbol into Christopher Waltz's head, rather than, you know what I mean? It's like, so everyone will know forever. You'll never be able to get rid of this. Yes. Some surprises in there too, you know, a little bit. The theater scene kind of goes awry. You know, we lose our female lead, or our female anyway. But anyway, so yeah, Inglourious Bastards, love it. That's my number 2. Real quick, Tony's Figs is in the house.
What's up, Tony?
What's up, you sexy biatch? Oh, okay. So, and I'm going to go back through some of these on the chat when we get done. So, so let me get rid of that. And then, what is your number 2, buddy?
My number 2, Pulp Fiction. It hit me at the right place and the right time.
I bet.
And Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. You know, I mean, you've got Bruce Willis, you've got Tim Roth. I mean, you've got some amazing performances, and Sam Jackson and Vincent Vega. You get the Vega brothers,
everybody.
Right? You know, you've got all these stories and how they interact, and how they're told from different perspectives. From a filmmaking perspective, from a film student, I loved this because the storytelling method of taking these different stories and bringing them together and making them seem desperate, but then making them all one big story, I thought was genius. And the MacGuffin doesn't really matter. It's just the MacGuffin, right? Yes. And, you know, say what again, motherfucker? You know, Royale with cheese, you know.
How many lines?
This is a tasty beverage.
How many, right? Like a million.
It's got so many great lines. The dialogue is phenomenal. The banter is phenomenal. And the story's engaging. And it's like, you know, do I have a big sign out in front of my yawn that says blah, 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 blah? I mean,
blank storage.
and it was just this, you know, mistake. You know, they hit a speed bump. Boom, there it goes.
God.
You know, and you wrap all these things up, and it is really a play off of Reservoir Dogs, as well as Jackie Brown and a couple other things that they're kind of mixing that Tarantino verse in there, and you can't stop quoting lines. I mean, you stab him like this. No, don't stab him 3 times. Stab him once, and you know, you tell that story.
Christopher Walken with the watch story,
and his watch in the most uncomfortable place.
Amazing, dude. Amazing.
I mean, this watch. Oh man, I can't even do it right now. But you know, I mean, the storytelling, the complete randomness of everything coming together into one cohesive story, and as crazy as it was, a $5 shake. I mean, come on, man. The lines, the reality of the situation, because if you knew anything about the drug scene or had an experience, you knew somebody that had to be stabbed in the heart with an EpiPen. I'm just saying, you know. I mean, man. You know, doing the wrong types of drugs and dying from it, or being saved from being stabbed in the chest with an EpiPen, you know, just pure adrenaline, you know, and how you, the drug dealer, and all these different things. It's just one of those movies that was at the right place at the right time to hit that teenager, you know, mindset of, oh, hey, this stuff happens, right?
Yes.
And so Pulp Fiction is the number 2 on my list for Tarantino movies.
Man, and that's, you know, I mean, that's for it to be number 2, you know, is pretty. I mean, that's pretty to not be number 1, because for me, it absolutely is my my number 1. Look at this list of actors. You know, Travolta, Jackson, Thurman, Keitel, Roth, Plummer, Maria Medeiros, Ving Rhames, Eric Stoltz, Roseanne Arquette, Christopher Walken, Bruce Willis, and all. I mean, dude,
How do you miss Harvey Keitel? How do you miss? Don't you skip over Harvey Keitel?
I didn't. I said his last name. I just said his last name. Anyway, so yeah, no. This is 1994, one of the greatest years in film.
Oh yeah.
This movie came out right after I graduated high school, and I was hanging out with friends all the time, and we used to play this soundtrack nonstop. I remember getting this CD, and we used to play it nonstop at our parties when we hung out, whatever we were doing. We played this soundtrack over and over and over. Not only a great soundtrack, great movie, great soundtrack. Each scene has multiple lines that people quote to this day. Every individual scene, just
Ketchup.
How? Oh God, yeah. Look how everything. The out of order storytelling, okay, was something I was not really like. I know there are other movies that had done it, maybe prior, maybe classics, whatever, but I'd never really seen that before for me personally, not that way. And it was like, God, how this, and putting all that together, getting all these actors and actresses, and really and truthfully, the return of John Travolta from a decade-long hiatus, from Hollywood, and resurrected his failed career at that point, failing career. Samuel Jackson, it just this movie came at the right time for me. Like you said, I was right out of high school. We're partying, hanging out, listening to the soundtrack, and we used to put this VHS tape on and watch it over and over and over. We went to bed to it. We passed out to it, but yeah, just every scene. And then yes, like even if you can't remember some of these lines off the top of your head when you're watching the movie, you can remember while you're watching the movie.
Yeah,
so for me, that's my number one. And real quick, I did want to show one thing that I had pulled up as far as the year in movies in 1994. And if you look at this list, Pulp Fiction, Speed, Chungking Express, Reality Bites, Leon, The Professional, Forrest Gump, Dumb and Dumber, Shawshank Redemption, Don Juan DeMarco, The Mask, The Chase, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Naked Gun 33 1/3, Clerks, Hudsucker Proxy, Burnt by the Sun, Natural Born Killers. I mean, Beverly Hills Cop 3, which I wouldn't give anything to, but Airheads, Maverick, True Lies. I mean, come on. Stargate, Ed Wood, The Lion King.
Yep. Banger every year.
33 movies off the top, and probably 28 of them are just bangers, dude, right? Like, that's so crazy to me. And
now,
for Pulp Fiction to be one of those, in that year, and obviously Shawshank ended up winning, Best Picture and whatever. But
I do have to say that John Travolta's probably initial comeback, I know it wasn't maybe as popular, look who's talking.
Look who's talking. Yeah. I saw the first and second one at the theaters. And I agree with you in a way. Yes, those movies.
But Pulp Fiction and Get Shorty and Michael and then Powder Phenomenon, all those things, Face Off. All those things started coming to him after Pulp Fiction. So
yeah, man. All right. So you're number one. And I don't really know, but I think I know, but go ahead.
You got to know. It's Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, I figured it was for you.
and it's for all the reasons that you said might turn audiences off these days.
Yeah.
Because the dialogue is sharp, because this was the first film that he made, that it was such a shoestring budget, that he got these amazing actors to come in and film these scenes with him, that he did it so concise because it was on such a budget, and he did such a good job with the dialogue, with the interactions. The actors killed it. He killed it with having them bring it, the music choices that they brought in. And it kind of set the tone for who Tarantino is, what he was going to do in the future. And as again, loving film the way that I do, Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction did so much to revitalize the best things about cinema that I loved about cinema from old school cinema. Right. So you go back to the earliest movies in the 20th century, to the movies that were made in the 50s and 60s, and what really made those interesting. And then you move into the 70s, and the 70s goes through this weird drawn out thing, but there's so much drama and stories and pacing in there. And then the 80s is all quick action cuts and bring everything together. The 90s kind of melded the two together and made these amazing movies that Tarantino loved so much. And as a blockbuster, as a video store rental clerk, decided to make these movies on a shoestring budget, put them together and said, hey, I want to make a movie like Rashomon, and I want to make a movie like this gangster film, and I want to make some bloody stuff because we can do that now, and threw it all together and made these two incredible movies for his beginning of his career. And to me, he's made some good movies after that, but he's never topped the genre changing, revitalizing films that he did with those first two films.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and I can't argue with you there. I mean, either or. I mean, for some people, they can take my number 5 and put it at number 1. They take your number 4 and put it at number 1. I just, for me, I think for most people, Pulp Fiction would be up in that 1 or 2. Reservoir Dogs probably that 1 and 2 if you just polled most people.
Yeah.
And judging by some of the comments here, I think that's in the ballpark.
I was gonna say an honorable mention because it's not a Tarantino movie, but From Dusk Till Dawn's amazing. Rodriguez film.
Listen, I would have, because when I saw that movie, I was like, holy cow, the turn that it takes, you don't even see it coming. It's completely out of the blue. And who doesn't like Salma Hayek with a snake? And holy cow. Mike Ray says Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Glorious Bastards, Hateful Eight, Planet Terror. I did like Planet Terror. But wasn't Planet Terror Rodriguez? I mean, I'm sure so Tarantino was on it, but I think maybe he and Rodriguez did that one together. I know it shows up under his filmography. I thought Tarantino was the one that did the car one, with Kurt Russell. And I thought Rodriguez did Death Proof. And I thought Rodriguez was the main one on Planet Terror.
Rodriguez wrote and directed Planet Terror.
Yeah. And so let's see here. Shark Guy says the money he made from selling the True Romance screenplay to Tony Scott funded Reservoir Dogs. That makes a lot of sense. He says Tarantino actually portrays one of the crazy 88 members during the big fight. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, that and a great fight. Eric Thurman says Once Upon a Time is his number 1.
I get it.
Yep. And then let's see here. Yeah, he says Once Upon a Time, Reservoir, Pulp, Kill Bill 1, and Hateful Eight. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna find those, probably all kind of together, but yeah, man, like, and Shark Guy says that the studio tried to get Tarantino to not go with Travolta, but he held his ground, and yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, it definitely helped out, and it definitely made him a lot of money moving forward when he's ended up doing when did Face Off come out, like 96 or something, I don't know, whatever, but anyway, so yeah, fun little thing to do, pull up different little topic here and there. So yeah, man, for any of y'all out there watching the replay, obviously, and I know you guys that are in here right now hitting the like button, but I'll say it again for anybody watching the replay as we kind of wrap things up here. Definitely like and subscribe if you like what you hear. You like hearing us chat a little bit, and then obviously you can go find Matthew on Instagram at
Mamu's Action Figure Blog.
And he has some fantastic pictures, and he sent me some today too, and especially the Indiana Jones ones are man, just the lighting alone are fantastic. Scene recreations from Raiders, and yeah, that's really awesome. He's got some amazing pictures. So we'll kind of wrap things up there. You guys will come back next Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. You can find me, PopBlender75 on Instagram. But obviously every Tuesday, Matthew and I do the big show at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then I will have a stream this Friday. My son is in football season with marching band, so it's going to be a little tricky with me. And so this is an away game, though, so I will actually go ahead and stream this upcoming Friday night. But yeah, man, Pop Blender, Matthew Matson, really appreciate everybody hanging out. Thank you so much, and hope y'all have a great rest of the night and a great week. And we will catch up to y'all next week, man. Matthew, always a good time, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.